Oh, Simon, you look amazing, as always.
And comfortable.
And comfortable and fully coordinated with hats on your suit. So we're going to go through a couple of things. First of all, let's start with your company. What is it called? What does it do?
So I own a company, Hills Hats, which was established in 1875. So we're celebrating 146 years this year, which is a biggie. I consider myself to be a caretaker. Obviously, there's been different owners in the business, but our main thing is to keep going for another 146 plus. So that's really the core of what we do. So,
and here you are on the front of the book. This is you.
That's right. Yeah, what an honour.
You are wearing something on your face there that is different, but you have brought a tape of mask for us today. So you were into masks way before COVID made them cool. Tell me about the masks. And you have one on top of your head.
I do have one on top of my head. Basically, trying to make noise in a market where there's a lot of other competition worldwide. We are international. We sell into Australia, Japan and the States. And I was trying to get that point of difference to get that audience just to, look, let me come and show you my bag of what we do. Unlike a lot of other businesses, it is really sort of hands-on. People need to actually feel the fabrics, the selection that we do, the point of difference, the construction and so on. So I started flying across the Tasman. I had a very basic mask to start with and started getting called, Hatman, here he comes and so on. And actually got to a point where I think now, if I arrived in Australia to any of the stores without a new costume, without a new hat, I'd probably be sent out. And that's a really important thing. The actual, Hatman is coming. Likewise, in Japan, I've walked down 5th Avenue into JJ Hat Centre, which is the oldest store in New York, so we're really proud to be in there. I actually walked down in a gold suit with a mask on and a gold hat on day one. They knew that I was coming, and honestly, the whole staff all of a sudden started coming around. That nonsense certainly catches their eye, but it actually needs to have that follow-up with what's actually inside the suitcase. So you sort of go through and you look at a uniform hat like this, it's all about the linings, it's all about the hand embroideries and so on, but you need to follow through. It's the fact that we use really high quality wools. We get all of our felts out of Portugal, we buy a straw out of Ecuador. We've just got a really neat project going on with Vanuatu, which is something we've been working on for 5 years. Obviously people know Hatman. I'm very naughty to actually sort of grab that on the international stage. There's a few other people that probably also would like to call themselves, the same. So that basically goes through the whole business.
So you had this pressure of being the third generation in a business where, I don't know whether it was the same as it was for high heels, but during COVID, I did not wear shoes, and my shoe purchases went from relatively high to zero. Was the same with hats?
Running.
Nobody hats on Zoom? No.
Well, it was all about trying to make noise once again, and how we went about doing that. Just before COVID, we were sort of watching. I had some friends out from Japan, a band called Hatman. We put on a concert, a rock concert at the San Fran in Wellington. We've done that twice now, and they were coming out. And then we went through to Splore, and as they were sort of seeing what was going, as it sort of went obviously from China and then went across to Taiwan and into Japan and so on, we were sort of seeing what was going on for their return, and obviously they dreaded going that way. So we had our eye on that, on the ball, but very quickly, as soon as that call was that we're going into lockdown, cancellations just rolled in to a point where obviously we had nothing to make. So we had to make a real quick decision on how we were going to keep our family of 26 people working. We were very, very fortunate, obviously, like everyone that managed to get those grants, that everyone go home, relax, be safe. And we had communication with them, obviously, during that period of time. But we'd actually switched out before we went into lockdown. I'd actually, on the eve, we'd managed to make 600 masks from absolutely nothing. We only actually made one prototype. I was very, very fortunate to have a designer that I worked with for many years who understood how I work. And we came up with the pattern that created all the pleating. So it was really important that we had something that was going to concertina around the chin and the nose for multiple fits. So that was really, really important. Plus also the fact that even Ashley Bloomfield, one of the reasons that masks weren't part of it was that whole hand-to-face contact that everyone was really nervous about. So we came up with a system that actually does up at the back of your head. So there was no need to have any of that contact. You know, the amount of times I actually went into the store and said, pick your lucky number, is trying to get people to actually put it on like this, onto your chin and back. So we actually had 2,000 cut ready to go when we finally got back in. And we tried during lockdown to get that factory up and running again. It was painful to actually see all these essential workers that weren't actually considered to be essential. We had courier drivers turning up, dropping off things that I'd ordered. I really knew that it was going to happen. So I had filters arriving, we had brim materials arriving, which we used for filters, elastic, all those sorts of things that I needed on day one, knowing that it was going to happen. But they didn't have masks. So we were throwing masks off the balcony, to all these courier drivers, to the electricians, and we sort of got a bit of a reputation that, if you pull up outside our house, you might get a mask thrown. We actually managed to sell 300 to Weta, for all those that were working from home and so on, and healthcare workers, Red Cross, and so on. So, we were really right at the beginning.
And because you have got this attention to detail and knowledge of fabrics in a way that many other people don't, you didn't just make masks. You talk about, non-touch on the front, but you did 4 layers, you did different fabrics, you used the science to make sure that there were wovens and non-wovens, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, as I said, the whole concertina of the way the actual mask fits is really important. I didn't want to do anything around the ears. I can't wear... I have to play with my glasses for a long time. I get sore behind the ears, so I didn't want to go with that concept. So we actually just came up with something which is sort of a hybrid of a lady's visor that we did in the back fastening, and also the hat that we do for the New Zealand brass band as well, with the little bit of the give in here, so you can actually sort of talk without feeling too constricted there.
And you used a secret ingredient, what the rest of us might just have on our desks at home. Anybody who wears glasses will know that if you had the wrong type of mask, as soon as you put it on, your glasses would steam up. What did you use?
Well, we were trying lots and lots of different type of things, and I kept on going back to the paper clip. So we bought basically New Zealand out of paper clips, and I sat there during lockdown opening them up, every single one, and it worked really, really well. It's just got the right bend, it holds your face, you can take it along the top of your cheek, so there is no gap. And it was really important, obviously being a glass wearer, that we actually eliminated that fogging. And if it does fog, it just not fitted quite properly. So then we had to all of a sudden go through and come up with how do we teach people to do that. So we had artwork done, we had a safety video made, and we really had to try and get out to the market without actually being able to leave home. So
we talk about number 8 wire mentality in New Zealand. You use paperclip wire.
Paperclip works a treat.
Now, obviously, as Anna just talked about, the demand for masks, we all have we're probably not buying them as much as they were. And I assume, I don't know if hats are coming back in, but you are always thinking ahead of the game, and you have some great role models and people out there talking about your product. So if we talk about what is next for you as Hatman, and maybe the name doesn't help sometimes, what is next? More hats?
Well, we're obviously very reliant on our international customers. We are that size, and we don't want to downsize. As I said from the beginning, we had a family of 26. So it's a matter of trying to find that's what we did with the masks. I actually come from a 3rd-generation company called Escape, which was before we had Hills Hats, and we were dressing gown makers. There's a shortage of dressing gowns in New Zealand, apparently, so I've got the patterns out, and we've already started making those again, so we're hoping to go to market with those shortly. And that's, once again, just trying to keep those machines busy.
And so tell us about your dress. And who is this wearing your dressing gown?
So this is Joe Dookie. He's the lead singer of Fat Freddy's Drop. He popped into the atmosphere last week, And so he's the first one to actually model the dressing gowns for us. He looks a lot better than I do, but as you can see, they are multi-fit.
And you have now tried to convince people that this is their Zoom attire, so if when you're working from home, put a pocket square in your fancy dressing gown.
Yeah, well, as I said from the outset, it's all about quality and that point of difference. So they are 3 pockets, this particular one. So you can actually put your pocket hank in there, so that when you are Zooming from home, you might actually just have a very fancy coat on. And they're great. I mean, and once again, it's using materials that we actually do use for our hats as well, which was exactly what we did with the masks.
And so for those of you looking for your next gift for that person in your life, the Hatman, made in the Hatmosphere. Simon, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and thank you for being our cover model.
Thank you. Cheers.